At 10 p.m. on our cruise, security came to our cabin door. A few hours later, we were charged a $250 fine because of our kids. Security told us there had been a complaint, and then they showed us a picture from the ship's cameras of our son knocking on someone else's cabin door. And honestly, the part that surprised me the most wasn't even the fine. If you're cruising with kids, this is something you need to be aware of. I'm gonna show you exactly what happened, what security showed us, and what I would do differently next time. So we were on an 8-day Mexican Riviera cruise on the Carnival Panorama, and overall, it was an amazing trip. If you've seen our port guide videos, you know we've done this cruise many times. We were having great weather, great ports, the kids were having a blast. Everything about the trip was going well. And because of that, we gave the boys a little bit more freedom than usual. Aiden is 11, Ethan is 9, and this time we let them check themselves in and out of the kids' camp. We were also staying in a family harbor cabin, which gives access to a lounge with food, seating, and game consoles. So naturally, it became a hangout spot for the kids. And not just younger kids, there were definitely older teenagers in there too. At first, everything seemed normal, but looking back, that's exactly where things started to shift. The boys were spending more time there, meeting different kids, hanging out longer, and eventually they started hanging out with a couple older teenagers. And that influence from the older teens started to show up pretty quickly. And this is where things started to go sideways. The first time, the older kids knocked on a cabin door and ran. Basically ding-dong ditching, but on a cruise ship. So the first time the teens knocked on a cabin door and ran off, our boys, along with one of their friends we were traveling with, were left standing there, which scared them, so they ran too. Then the next day it happened again, but this time Aiden was the one who knocked, and that's where it crossed the line. That night, we were all in bed early around 9:30 or 10 o'clock, because we had an early morning port the next day. The kids were already asleep, and then we hear a knock at the door. Erika opens it, and it's a security guard. They tell us there's been a complaint. At first, we're confused, like what happened? And then they show us a photo on their tablet from the ship's cameras, and it's Aiden knocking on a cabin door. At that point, there's really nothing to argue, but what happened next honestly surprised me. The next morning, we sat down with the boys, and to Aiden's credit, he owned it. He explained what happened, how the older kids influenced him, and how it escalated.
How much were they fined?
$250 for being knucklehead. See this? Code of conduct.
What's photo conduct?
Code of conduct.
What's that?
For you guys doing stupid things and doorbell ditching other cabins. When you blame the older kids, yet you're easily influenced by other teenagers, huh?
Later on, we checked our onboard account and there it was, $250, code of conduct violation. No warning, just a straight charge. Before I explain the rest, I'm curious, do you think $250 for something like this is fair? Because I'll be honest, before this happened, I didn't even realize this was really a thing right now. I had no idea that ding-dong ditching, especially on a cruise ship, had kind of turned into a trend. But here's what really caught me off guard. After this, I looked it up, and there are a lot of videos out there with people ding-dong ditching on cruise ships. And some of them are not harmless. It's teenagers sprinting down hallways, banging on doors over and over, being loud and disruptive. And you can tell they know exactly what they're doing. Then there are other videos where people are doing it to their own group of friends or their family, which is completely different. So when I saw that, it gave me a little different perspective. But part of me feels like maybe a warning could have made sense for a first-time situation like this, but at the same time, I totally understand why cruise lines are taking this really seriously, because if you don't address it early, it can turn into something even bigger. And when you're on a ship with thousands of people, you can't really let that slide. And this is the part that surprised me the most. I ended up talking to a few security guards throughout the trip, and you can tell they're trying to stay ahead of this kind of behavior, especially with kids and teenagers. And as a parent, that's actually something you want. If I could go back, the one thing I would do differently is this. We would have checked in more and probably limited how much time they were spending in that lounge without us around. So if you're cruising with kids, here's my takeaway. Giving them freedom is great, but there's a balance. Pay attention to who they're spending time with. Check in more than you think you need to. And don't assume that because it's a cruise, the rules are relaxed, because they're not. And something small like this can turn into something bigger pretty quickly. For us, it ended up being a learning experience, for them and for us. They're splitting the $250 fine and paying for it themselves because actions have consequences, even when they're on vacation. I don't love the fine, but honestly, I don't hate the lesson that they are learning either. I think it was a good lesson for everyone involved. Because at the end of the day, this really isn't about the $250 fine. It's about how quickly small decisions can turn into real consequences. And I guarantee we're not the only family this has happened to. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Was $250 fair, or should it have been a warning? And if you cruise with kids, how much freedom do you give them? Thank you again for watching, and if you enjoy cruise content like this, be sure to subscribe. We also have port guide videos from our travels and cruises all over the world. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.